Now, at that time, then when you become minister, you sort of make history as well. You are the first NGO leader to become a full-fledged minister. That's amazing, and that's history. I think you're the only one in history. No one else has done it. But of course, there was this moment where, again, you caught controversy consistently, sir. I have to say.
Yes.
It was about the 6 treaties that this was when you were the Minister of the National Unity and Social Wellbeing, where it involved the entire ICERD, or the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. Now, of course, this is just one of the treaties. There were 5 others. But I guess the ICERD was the one that really drew a lot of attention to you. Back then, Dato' Saifuddin blamed you for it. Now he's being blamed for it. So I don't know who's the one who's championing it. But anyway, you were involved. And you were the face for all the criticism about it, right? Now, before we get into this ICERD matter, can you just explain to us, to just refresh our memory, what exactly is ICERD all about, and what would it have meant for Malaysia to actually ratify it?
ICERD is an international convention on elimination of all forms of racism and racial discrimination. Now, we Malaysians are always spooked with, race and religion, okay? On one side, the Malays feel that their special position under Article 153 has to be protected. On the other side, the non-Malays feel that that has caused racial discrimination. These are facts, bare facts. Whereas if we understand Article 153 in totality, you will understand that Article 153 very clearly says that it does not. It is not meant to discriminate upon the non-Malays. It is not meant to discriminate. It is meant to give advantages to the Malay community who are backward. That is 153. Now, many countries with affirmative action policies have ratified ICERD with reservations. So Malaysia could have done that. In any event, I was caught in the crossfire. I became a victim. I would say I became a victim. Now, this is what happened. Tun Mahathir delivered his address in New York, his annual, as a leader of the country. He delivered his speech. And in his speech, he said that Malaysia would ratify all remaining conventions. Right? He said that. At that point of time, the foreign minister was Saifuddin Abdullah. Saifuddin Abdullah was a person who I would say, advocated signing of for the remaining convention. You must understand, Saifuddin Abdullah was from PKR. And in PKR manifesto in 2018, Pakatan manifesto, the fact that Pakatan will ratify all remaining convention was there. It was Pakatan manifesto. It was not my agenda. It was Pakatan manifesto. And Saifuddin Abdullah kept to his part of the bargain, and he insisted that it should be ratified. And he must have discussed with the Prime Minister, because before going, there were discussions in the cabinet. But of course, speeches, we are not privy to the speeches, but Tun delivered the speech. When Tun delivered the speech, Parliament was in session, questions were raised in Parliament. When questions were raised in Parliament, I'm the only minister from the
Unity Department.
The minister. There were two ministers. One is Law Minister, Unity. I'm in charge of Unity, and Agama Minister. Law Minister was not around at that time to answer the question. It so happened that I answered the question. I was given the task to answer the question. Look, I was given the script. These are all the details about ICERD. Please answer. And I answered the question. I became a victim. You know what happened in Parliament after that.
Yes.
You know.
The videos are still there.
Yeah, I know. So, and then what is unfair is last year, or rather before the last elections, Anwar Ibrahim accused me, dia yang bawa ICERD, when Zahid Hamidi came to my house for Deepavali, immediately they became, upset about it, because they knew they were not going to get the Indian voters. So he said, oh, itu Zahid Hamidi, dia kawan dengan Waytha Moorthy, dia yang bawa ICERD dulu. Can you see? And he's our Prime Minister today. And look, how can you lie to the people like that? I should have sued him for defamation, but I didn't.
Now, and then of course your I want to be careful here because you have publicly said that you were not the one spearheading it, but you were involved in it, this entire ICERD.
No, I see what I was involved in answering the question in Parliament because both Saifuddin was supposed to answer after PM. Saifuddin, because the whole project is by the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
Okay.
You know, it's so because Tun answered the question, so the question was posed to the PM's department, and I was only minister available. My job was to answer the question.
But however, sir, I mean, you have to admit that this made you public enemy number one.
Yes, yes.
There were rallies, muftis were going demanding a resignation, so on and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But so why do you think this topic of ICERD, and as you say, you were answering the question, but from the outside, the perception was you were the one championing this, right? And of course, I think the image of a non-Malay championing racial equality and all that is just fuels the fire even further. But so why did you incur so much wrath to the point that you were labelled at one point as being anti-Malay and anti-Muslim?
I think it goes back in history a bit to my 2007 when the rally took place. You must understand what happened. When the rally took place, subsequent to the rally, when I left the country, the government knew, then the Barisan National government knew, they had to do something drastic to stop the rise of the Indian community. So they started terming HINDRAF as a fanatical Hindu movement. They say any fanatic Hindu, number one. So Utusan, Berita Harian, the entire government machinery, fanatic Hindu. And then to justify their ISARS, they brought up the issue of, HINDRAF leaders have links to the LTTE in Sri Lanka. So that spooked the Malays. One side, this guy, the leader, is a fanatical Hindu. Next, he has got connection with LTTE that takes up arms struggle.
I have to ask, do you?
I'll answer that in a while, okay? That's interesting. I would love to answer that in a while. Okay, so next, this guy is involved in what? This guy is involved in some terrorist organization. Guess what will happen in our country? So they spooked the Malay community. Anti-Melayu, anti-Islam. Dia sued the British government. Dia kata dia nak hapuskan hak orang Melayu and all that. Everything. So everything worked against me in 2007. Then in 2018, strange enough, 2014 when I supported Najib, nothing of this sort came up. Nothing. Not a single word came. But 2018 when I supported Pakatan Harapan, and Pakatan Harapan won. And Barisan couldn't accept the defeat. So naturally, it was too much for them. Being in power for 60 years, suddenly removed from power and then charged with various criminal offences, dragged to court, So they thought they had to do something to bring down this government. And I became the soft target. Okay. And when this thing came up, they made use of it and said, whatever not, And then, of course, during the same time, the Seafield temple issue came up, and then the fireman, got injured. I was blamed for his death. You understand? Yes. Strange enough, I was blamed for his death, but when the inquest came up, nobody called me.
I think Shahid Sadiq also demanded resignation because of that. Yeah,
that's silly. You know why? When the inquest came up on the death, nobody called me to give any evidence. If I am the cause of that, I will be the first one to be called.
And then you were blamed for it.
I'm it's always the Indians are the soft target.